Being snatched back into a series of thoughts about the gap between where you are and where you're going stops the momentum that you were building up. Momentum you probably didn't even know about yet. You will get where you're going, love, but you have to learn to shift your gaze. Hey, loved ones. I wanted to talk to you about something that has completely shifted my world in the last few weeks, and I really think it's going to help you too. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with this scenario. You're seeing a little bit of traction, you're feeling good, you think things are finally looking up, and you're on the ride, going somewhere, and then all of a sudden, boom, you do something stupid like scroll social media too long, or hear a story about somebody, or just some news that happened, and you immediately start the train of thought of, why the heck isn't this working out for me? Why isn't my business getting any sales? I really thought I had this down pat. What am I doing wrong? Nothing. You just have to learn how to shift your gaze. There is little to be gained of constantly reminding yourself of what you're living every day. You already know what you're living every day. You're living it. So you don't also need to narrate that to yourself. The power of focusing your gaze on where you are going instead of where you are is literally built into the fabric of anything that is forward moving in our reality. You don't walk looking at your feet, do you? You also don't drive looking into your lap. You don't study for a test and stop at the information that you already know. Am I correct in that? We use our senses to see as far ahead as we can while just continuously moving, knowing your destination is going to be there, even if it's somewhere you've never been before. Shifting your gaze toward where you're headed instead of where you currently are is something that a lot of your faves have already mastered, even though they may not have examined that and named it such. They might not explain it that way to you, but that is what they're doing. If you listen to the language that they're using all the time, they're always talking about resilience and being able to look forward to what you want instead of waddling in where you are. Is that the word? Whatever the word is, sulking in the reality of where you are. Little comes from constantly reminding yourself that you're not where you want to be yet, apart from maybe finding motivation to change. So how do you apply this in everyday life? So let's look at an example a lot of people can relate to. Say you are social media surfing, okay? You're having a good time on social media, just looking at stuff. Probably should be doing something else, but you're just going ahead and doing that scroll that we all do, doing that scroll. You come across a piece of content that jolts your nervous system, softly, like a soft jolt, maybe even a secret jolt, but it jolts you. It stops the energy that you had flowing that felt all good and fluttery, and it makes you think you're lacking something. It makes you start to worry about things that you weren't worried about before because you didn't even want. Maybe something you don't have, or something you haven't achieved yet, somewhere you haven't been yet, but either way, something that was not there until you started your scroll, or you weren't worried about before because you were actually focused on yourself and where you were going instead of focusing on someone else and their timeline. Or you're cleaning up around your house and you are so sick of this tight, cramped space. Every time you go to clean up, it is an issue with finding a place for everything to go. And you sit and you start to ruminate about, oh my God, I can't wait until I move. I can't wait until I'm out of here. When am I going to be able to find a place? When are these prices going down? Or you're trying to lose that last bit of stubborn weight. And you get on the scale, and once again, it's another week that you haven't dropped anything, and you're wondering, why won't these last few pounds come off? Why does it seem like I'm gaining weight? Why does it seem like somebody else who isn't even trying is losing all the weight that I am currently trying to lose? In all of these examples, you have taken your gaze from where you could be going and have put it on where you currently are. If we all walked around looking down at our feet, meaning looking where we are instead of a few paces ahead, any human occupied space would be tangled up if we drove the way that we think about things in our current moment instead of the next few seconds, the next few steps ahead, looking forward. The gaze, and I'm talking about the gaze of your mind, not necessarily the gaze of your eyes, should always be forward in times of productivity, in times where you're trying to get work done, in times when you're like really trying to envision something for yourself, or just when you're not feeling well. When you're not feeling well, it's probably because your gaze is on some stuff that's happening right now instead of the fact that it could change in a little bit. And that's what you're really trying to hold on to in all of this, is not even just the possibility, the probability that things are going to change. If the goal in the moment is to stay in the belief that what you want is coming, the best thing you can do for yourself is look toward that and not where you are. Whenever you're met with this feeling of, oh, why hasn't it happened yet? When is it going to happen for me? Stop yourself and say, nope. I am going to get there. I'm just not there yet. I know where I'm going. I just haven't made it there yet. I know what is waiting for me. It just hasn't arrived yet. My focus is on where I'm going, not where I am. It is already done. Time just hasn't caught up yet. Know that holding on to these thoughts for a few moments will begin to shift your energy and shift the way that you're feeling about something toward something that feels aspirational in your own life instead of affirming what you already know is going on. That does little to help you. You'll begin to see the path different. You'll feel lighter. You'll feel better. You'll feel better able to work because you know that you're working towards something. It's just a reminder that you're working towards something, that your feet are moving. You're not on a hamster wheel. I've been following Charlie Rocket a lot lately, and I came across this analogy that said something like, it takes 62 miles to get to space. And those first few miles when you're leaving Earth, that first lift off until you get out of the atmosphere is the most excruciating. It takes the most effort, it takes the most energy. But then after that, something magic happens. You get lighter, you're out of the pool of gravity now. And things can get really fast then, and things can happen. You have momentum. You have crazy momentum because you had the momentum that was lifting you up with all kinds of force, and then it just blasted you off into the ether. That's what you're trying to get to. That's what you're trying to remind yourself, that you're on that rocket. In my tweet, I said something like, please don't stop and turn around because you might be at mile 46. Allowing yourself to focus on where you're going instead of where you are allows for momentum to build around what you're currently doing. Momentum that you haven't even felt yet because it's still on the way, like it's just around the corner. If you can just hold on and hold out for a second, it's right around the corner because you put a lot of energy towards it, and it has a ripple effect that it's going to come back to you if you can just hold out. I really like to think breakthroughs are like rewards for holding out for them. Like a blessing shows up like, you waited for me? You really waited for me. Now I'm really about to show you something. And then you get shown every time. If you could just hold on and know that it's coming because you know that's what you're traveling towards. You know that's what you're aligned with. She agrees. Prayerfully, that's a lovely thought to keep with yourself if you're a dreamer and a doer, because it will help you so many times when you are in those pockets of, oh my gosh, I'm here again. Now, that does not mean to breed the habit of constantly only thinking about the future and never living in the present moment. Never that, because the present moment is where everything happens anyway. But it does mean that you hold favorable thoughts of things changing to fit your desired outcome. I hope this information has been helpful and that you walked away with a couple of practical tips of how to put this into practice immediately whenever you are feeling yourself ruminating. Like, just check yourself throughout the day. What are you thinking? Are you thinking about your current thoughts? Are you thinking about the future? Are you thinking about what is? Are you thinking about what can be? Okay? I'll see y'all in the next one. Keep it light. Bye. That's from a certain space. What am I saying? The possibility of things to change to fit your desired. What am I saying?